There's a little bit more heart. There's a little bit more serious moments. And it's tough for a movie that is almost purely a comedy to have serious moments. But there was enough of them in this that it got me. It did the job for me. And
Same. I felt like this one was a better balance than the last two.
than the last two. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
And I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. Michael, why are we here?
Today, the moment we've all been waiting for. We've been working towards this, reviewing several movies leading up to this, but we today are reviewing Deadpool and Wolverine.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Look, lady, I'm not interested.
All right, well, I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so upsy daisy. Here we go. Oh, whiskey dick of the claws. It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.
You don't want this.
This Wolverine let down his entire world.
Want to talk about what's haunting you, or should we wait for a third act flashback?
Go.
Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go.
Let's
Yes.
fucking go.
Let's fucking go. So
Said throughout this film.
said that those are the sentiments throughout the film.
And maximum effort.
Maximum effort. Well, okay. So if you guys have been paying attention, Michael and I have been working towards this for a while on our channel. We started with Logan. We have a Logan episode out, which that is our favorite X-Men movie. And then we worked towards the two Deadpools. There's Deadpool, the first one, and then Deadpool 2, and we reviewed those as well. So for this, the overall for me is this movie brings back the heart, I believe, of the first one. There's a little bit more heart. There's a little bit more serious moments. And it's tough for a movie that is almost purely a comedy to have serious moments. But there was enough of them in this that it got me. It did the job for me.
Same. I felt like this one was a better balance than the last two.
Okay.
I really kind of felt that way, even though the breaking the fourth wall was way more in this one.
He's
for some weird reason, because I think it was because we were more or less, we were kind of the film was getting us to feel more because Wolverine was involved.
Mm-hmm.
That breaking the fourth wall, it bounced, because in the last couple of reviews we've mentioned that sometimes it's hard to break the fourth wall and then try to get your audience to be serious about the situation.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, this is a serious situation and somebody's gonna die, but we're breaking the fourth wall because this isn't real. Right. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to toe that line, but I feel like bringing the Wolverine into it kind of made that mix a little bit better.
I think it worked better because Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is a more serious character, and he's always been a serious character, and so he plays the straight man to Deadpool's goofy antics. I think that's the dynamic that the first two movies might have been missing the whole time. Was the straight guy, the goofy guy, and
serious, and then like comic relief, serious.
Oh, and this is kind of why all of these buddy cop movies. This reminded me kind of a buddy cop movie. So like Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover's character is the straight guy, and Mel Gibson's character is the loose cannon, the crazy guy, the guy that's making all the jokes. And then the same thing for Bad Boys, Will Smith, even though he's a comedic actor, he's playing the straight guy role most of the time, and Martin Lawrence plays the comedic, goofball. All the bad things happen to him, and so this dynamic in this movie is actually quite appealing because you've got the straight guy who is Hugh Jackman, who's playing everything really serious, and then you've got the comedic aspect of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. So this works out really, I think, perfectly.
We were kind of worried that it was going to be a prop, like that this was going to be hard to pull off, but they pulled it off. I think with flying colors. I think they really did a good job.
The action scenes in this by far are superior to the first two. I mean,
it was obvious that they had a bigger budget.
Yeah, the action scenes
was very obvious,
phenomenal in this.
Yeah,
the choreography in this with the fights. So there's probably three major fight scenes that we can get into when we get into spoilers. That are just memorable. They're so good. They are so interesting, and they're not just action scenes for the sake of action scenes. They're actually action scenes that further the story along. And I thought that was just brilliant. My hat's off to these guys because they pulled it off. This movie will be the movie of the summer. It's already breaking all these box office records. It's rated R.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's rated R. So don't take your kids. I saw kids in my theater, and I was like, oh, this is a little too much for. Like it.
I'm glad I didn't, but I was thinking about taking my 14-year-old. I mean, he is 14, so like teenager, but
it's more violent than anything I've seen.
It was worse than the other ones. I mean, think it was worse than the other
really
ones.
Violent. There's a lot of blood.
They don't pull any punches for sure.
They do not at all. So I mean, there's a ton of spoilers that we can get into. What are your overall thoughts?
I think this was the best of the three. I mean, I didn't think it was going to beat the
Logan,
the first one. Well, I don't know that I'd say it was better than Logan. I think Logan is a solid film.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it depends on what you're going for, right? I laughed my ass off during this film.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard, and me and the whole theater, like everybody that I was there. Now it was odd. There was like people sitting in front that were a younger crowd. And then there were some guys in the back that I think were more closer to my age that got some of the jokes way more than the people in front of us.
Yeah.
And we were just laughing our heads off. And it was so funny because it seemed like every once in a while someone would get a joke that no one else would get. So there was a couple guys that were laughing their asses off, and it must have been a joke that I just kind of
went over your head.
But, well, it's rapid fire. Man,
if you laugh for too long, you'll miss
the next one.
You'll miss the next joke. That's how
so true.
That's how many jokes are in this movie. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that they're able to get that many jokes in that are like really like golden jokes. It is a funny movie. It is, and I tend to lean towards movies that are more serious, which is probably why I like Logan so much. A lot of people were worried that it would tarnish the memory of how good that movie was, and I don't. They poke fun at it a lot, but it's all in good
faith. Yeah, it's all in good faith.
This is out of the Deadpool movies. This is probably the best one. I really like the first one. That's what I was
meaning is Deadpool movies, best one. Yeah,
for sure. And I think the addition to having Wolverine in it, like as a buddy cop kind of scenario or a buddy road trip, whatever, I think that's that's where it needed to go.
Mhm.
That was really smart for them to do that. So, do you want to get into spoilers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Spoilers now. So the cameos, we have to talk about the cameos. And
Yeah.
if you have not watched this movie and you're coming into the spoiler section, I got to tell you, the cameos are so good, you're going to want to go see the movie before you watch this section, because
Yeah.
some of the cameos are outright, there are several layers to all the cameos, okay? And,
Yeah.
and you do not have like big stars are these in these cameos, like huge, like I don't even know where to begin. So let's begin with the obvious one. Okay, so Chris Evans, who had a dual roles in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He actually played Johnny Storm in the first Fantastic Four when he was really young, and then he became
What was his name?
the Human Torch.
Human Torch. Okay, yeah.
In fact, in Fantastic Four, he plays Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and those movies were what they were. Okay, they were the early 2000s. They did okay. They're almost unmemorable. And then he becomes Captain America.
They do 2 or 3.
They did 2.
They did 2.
There was always a plan to do more, but
it just kind of fell apart, and it
yeah.
probably didn't do very well the second time or what have you. Anyways, go ahead.
So
and then he plays Captain America. So
then he plays Captain America
cameo. When you see him, everyone's thinking Captain America.
Everybody's thinking Captain America, and then he goes, flame on, because we had all memory hold the first Fantastic Four movies. I mean, like consecutively, the crowd lost their shit at that moment because everybody was expecting him to be Captain America.
It was
he's actually Johnny Storm.
It's
Fantastic Four.
Now
there's so many layers. There's so many layers to that. Just that cameo alone. I went with
some people that were younger. I went with some younger people. I was like, hey, I got to see this so we can record about it. And they tagged along. They were not getting so much of these
older
jokes. Like
this movie is meant for a guy in his 40s.
For a while, you probably haven't seen Fantastic Four, the first one.
You haven't seen any of them. They make fun of the Josh Trank one. They talk about that one a couple of times. That was one that I never even watched. I never even saw that Fantastic Four. It was the one with
I haven't either.
Michael B. Jordan was in that, and Miles Teller is in that one. But I mean, it was a flop. It was one of Marvel's bigger flops. So if you're unfamiliar with the history behind, so Marvel sold their X-Men franchise and their Fantastic Four franchise to 20th Century Fox years ago, and that's who's been making the X-Men movies, and they also sold Spider-Man universe to Sony. So over time,
20th Century Fox, which
over time Marvel's been trying to get those back. Okay, and so Disney, now that Disney owns Marvel, they've been in this joint venture to get those characters back, and they bought 20th Century Fox Studios and basically now they own those characters again, the X-Men characters and the Fantastic Four characters. So that's one of the reasons that there are so many inside jokes about that. I mean, I guess we should start with the basic story is after Deadpool, from the second movie, he has a time traveling device that he uses
to go and save his girlfriend.
And bring her back to life. And so he basically does that and stops being a superhero. He puts away his suit and he's just a regular guy. He's wearing a toupee and he's going to CarMax or something like that.
Yeah, he's selling cars. He's a car salesman.
That's where he's at now.
And like a piece of him dies, and that they early on they established that him and her have broken up.
Yeah.
And they later on they kind of explain that like part of him dies as he's no longer a superhero.
Yeah.
And he loses his girl through that.
Yeah. And so he tries a bunch of different things. He tries to become an Avenger, and there's some funny moments there. So they're jumping around in timelines a lot. And then there's an organization, and so here's where my cultural blind spot happens, because I've barely watched any of Marvel's TV shows on Disney Plus. I watched WandaVision, the first season, and I didn't bother watching any others. I haven't watched any of the Loki. I haven't watched Miss Marvel. Haven't watched any of them. And what happened is, I guess they introduce the TVA, which is the Time Variance Authority, in the Loki series. So this is something you have to kind of know or kind of be familiar with when they show up in this world, in this universe that Wade Wilson, Deadpool, has created for himself. They show up because he's been time jumping, and they're like, we're going to bring you to justice, kind of thing. And then so the plot's all over the place, and that's probably one of my biggest complaints about this. Then they basically ask him to go in order to save his, what is it? His universe?
Yeah.
His universe is they tell him his universe is dying. And so they give him a chance to, because I guess there's the prime being. So Logan, if you haven't seen Logan, spoilers for that. So Wolverine dies in the movie Logan. And that's the same universe that Wade Wilson is in. Bear with us as we try to get through this. Wade Wilson is in that same universe, and Logan is the prime being, meaning the being that keeps that universe going. And when he dies, the universe starts to decay. And so Deadpool is,
and they say it takes like 1,000 years, but because this person died, they that universe ultimately is going to die out.
Yeah.
Because
so they're talking about getting rid of the universe altogether. I guess they get into the weeds on this in the Loki show, and I didn't have any desire to see that Loki show because I didn't.
Well, and even Deadpool even mentions, he's like,
mentions
this is something that was introduced in Loki, season 1, episode 5.
So basically he's acknowledging that we shouldn't have to know that, but that he's actually poking fun at that.
Yeah, the fact that you kind of have to know this,
kind of have to know that,
know what's going on here.
Yeah, to know what's going on. So it's funny, and also at the same time, you kind of get it from. So basically, what he decides to do is he decides to go find a Wolverine from another universe and convince him to come back to Deadpool's universe, so he can keep replace the Wolverine that used to
prime being.
Yeah, so he can replace the prime being. Now, that's a long, drawn-out way of explaining this plot. You're not really supposed to be thinking too heavily about it. You gotta just go with it. And because the ride is so much fun, and so I've heard other podcasters talk about this. We don't really give a crap about the plot. What we care about are the characters, and there's the two characters. There's Deadpool and Wolverine, and we care about them getting what they want, their goals. Their what's driving them as characters. And so what's interesting, one of the funnest parts of this movie is when he's jumping through all the different universes trying to find the right Wolverine.
Yeah, which is hilarious. It is
so funny.
So funny.
Henry Cavill is next.
The cameos.
Oh my god, the cameos are
Henry Cavill is. He's like, what did he say? He's like Cavill Wolverine.
Cavalrine.
Cavalrine. That's right. Cavalrine.
Oh, it was so good. It's so funny that they got him. Henry Cavill, if you don't know, played Superman. He played The Witcher. He's been in all these things. Probably an actor that's not getting his just dues because he's, I don't know, he keeps getting kind of shafted when it comes to all these characters. He was supposed to return as Superman, and then they got rid of that, and then he was supposed to also return as The Witcher, and he didn't like how they were writing that character anymore, so he stepped away from that. So he's been kind of embroiled in all this kind of stuff, and there's been rumors.
I think he should be an A-list actor,
Yeah,
but it
at this
seems
point.
like he's just kind of ran across a few bumps along the way.
Yeah.
To where
and he's so good in the ministry of ungentlemanly warfare that he's so great in that. So I don't think he's really getting what he deserves. But he shows up as a Wolverine while Deadpool's going through this, and it is so funny because he would be really good casting for the character. I think everybody kind of looked at it and went, oh, that would be really good.
It probably started out as a meme or somebody.
Yeah. And this is what happens all throughout this.
Said that.
So they've
short
got
Wolverine, like a little tiny short
Wolverine, which was from the original Wolverine, was supposed to be really small, basically.
Yeah.
And Hugh Jackman took the character on, and Jackman's like 6'1" or something. So there was that. There's so many great moments. Finally, he finds the worst Wolverine, and he brings him back and says that we're going to put him in my universe so that my universe doesn't decay, and I can save all the people I love. The authorities at the TVA are like, well, he's the worst one. He let his whole
universe
down.
Yeah.
And they don't actually show it, but it is really interesting how they use flashbacks of the old X-Men to show his regret over it. Because
we're into spoilers, so we can talk about it. But
yeah,
I seriously thought, because I know at some point there was I think a comic book, an Old Man Logan comic book or something like that, where he was having a flashback and he was out of it, and he woke up and he killed all the X-Men. It was him that killed them. Like he was in a trance or something. I think it's like a
timeline in a comic books. Now I'm only like familiar with the most popular comic books. I'm not one of those comic book people who like is dived into
all the different
the obscure stuff. So you might be right. That might have actually happened in several. So
I thought that's where they were going, but they may have thought that was a little too dark.
Maybe.
So they played it off, and it was kind of a sad thing when they did the flashback. Basically, he on some level he was drunk and kind of walked away while he kind of sensed that there was something going on, and humans came and killed all of them,
all the X-Men. So
yeah,
he let it happen. He didn't cause it to happen, and then he started killing.
He went on a rampage and killed humans.
And so that's where he gets branded the worst of the X-Men, or of the Wolverines in the multiverse timelines. So in other words, they get him and Deadpool get thrown into what's known as the Void. And this is like a comic book trope that they've had. It's like the universe that the TVA throws all of the undesirable characters. They throw them in there.
Yeah, they want to get rid of them.
And
the garbage, take out the garbage.
This is where the first really great fight scene happens. It's an amazing fight scene. So they throw them down there, and then Wolverine and Deadpool fight each other because they're at each other's throats. They're yelling at each other. He's like, "Isn't this why you destroyed your world?" And so they start fighting each other, and this is phenomenal. The choreography in this scene is brilliant. There's moments where he's got Deadpool's got his katanas kind of caught in his blade, and he retracts his claws and releases the blades, and then he puts the claws back out and then stabs Deadpool. I mean, just stuff like that was just so brilliant. I want to see it again so I can just like kind of soak it in, but they were this
I want to see it again so I can try to catch all of
the jokes come
because sometimes
rapidly.
they were so quick. I was just like, shoot. Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Try to catch on to all the
and
jokes.
Then when the whole crowd in the movie theater is laughing and you're laughing, you mess like the next few jokes that they say, which is, I think, intentional, and it's probably smart on the filmmakers.
So people will go see it again.
People will go see it again because they're going to want to remember the jokes and stuff. So anyway, that was just a brilliant fight scene. And it turns out to be kind of like a wasteland that he kind of refers to as Mad Max.
Yeah, and this is where all the cameos start just
happening.
Pouring in. Because this is this wasteland. It's a wasteland of the multiverse.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, they kind of can do whatever they want.
They really can.
This is one of the things about multiverse stuff is that it's like, it doesn't matter. We can throw it in, make it work.
Yeah.
And so you get so many cameos that unless you've been around for a while, you wouldn't even get like Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes is Blade. That's the biggest
it.
cameo. That is probably the cameo.
I was like, oh my God.
I could not believe it. I could not believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. That is so brilliant. Especially since
Elektra.
Okay.
Jennifer Garner.
So they had Jennifer Garner, Elektra, and then they had Channing Tatum as Gambit, because there was supposed to be a movie of him starring as Gambit. It was supposed to be an X-Men Origins Gambit.
Yeah.
And the only other actor who's played Gambit is Taylor Kitsch, and he played it as a cameo in one of the Wolverine movies.
It was a Wolverine Origins.
So he was supposed to play this character. I think contracts were actually signed and the movie fell apart, which is so funny because he keeps talking like he never got a chance in this movie. He like gets a bunch of lines, and he's French. He's French Cajun. He's Cajun. It's it's a dialect from New Orleans. He's from New Orleans. Anyway, so he's French.
The character is supposed to be from
the character, and he says things that he doesn't always get, like the audience doesn't always understand, and neither does Deadpool. And so Deadpool's always like, I don't know what you're saying. And it's so funny, and so there's so many layers to it because he keeps talking about how he never got a chance. It's so funny because Channing Tatum never got a chance to play this character.
Gosh.
And then having Blade there, so that's got layers to it too, because famously on Blade Trinity, the third Blade movie, which is over 20 years old, Ryan Reynolds played Hannibal Caine in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they famously didn't get along. Like Wesley Snipes didn't like Ryan Reynolds. So how they got Wesley Snipes to be in this movie is beyond me. I mean, beyond me. Like I don't even know how they got him to be in this, because it was a famous feud between the two of them. Because I guess Wesley Snipes is very serious about acting, and Ryan Reynolds is very like
more joking and stuff. My guess is Wesley Snipes probably didn't like it because he was probably stealing the show, and Ryan Reynolds does steal the show.
Yes, almost in everything he's in
Trinity. in
Yes,
Blade
in
Trinity,
Blade Trinity.
I felt
yeah.
like he did kind of steal the show.
He did. He totally did. That nobody
So.
remembers Blade in that movie. Everybody remembers Ryan Reynolds' character in that movie.
Yeah, and this
So,
was young Ryan Reynolds. This was early
early
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds.
Reynolds, like right fresh off of Van Wilder, which he mentions in this movie again. I mean, there are so many jokes, man, about his career.
Oh gosh, that was what when he says the proposal, he's like, "Oh, I can break the fourth wall too."
And
Proposal. And I laughed because my wife loves that show, The Proposal, and so, but I was the only one who laughed in the movie theater. The only one. No one else got it. Everybody's just like, "What?" And I'm just like, "Ah!"
And I did too. I laughed too. I was sitting right next to a bunch of young people, and I was probably laughing harder than they were because I was getting almost
all
every
these
joke.
Yeah, because like my niece that went with me, but like she had no idea
like who Blade was.
This
like
Elektra person, no idea.
And okay, so there's so much meta here. So there's so much meta. So Blade is famously, they're trying to make a new Blade with Mahershala Ali, who's an Academy Award winning actor at this point. He's a very good actor, and he would do a good job, I think, with the character. But it's famously in purgatory, like development hell. The movie has been like delayed and delayed and delayed. And so there's a joke. If you're into this stuff and you know that that's what's going on, that Wesley Snipes says, "I'm the only Blade."
Oh, and
and
the only one that'll ever be.
The only one that will ever be. And I just laughed my head off. I couldn't believe that they had put this in here because they're still trying to get this movie made.
That's so funny.
And the fact that Kevin Feige, the producer, the guy who's in charge of all these characters at this point, let that in because they're having such a hard time making this movie. They are having a hard time making this new Blade. And it's just like it's so funny. There's one point I got to mention this because it's so brutal, and I don't know why Hugh Jackman let them have it in, but Ryan Reynolds says, "Oh," he says, "This is my friend Wolverine. I know he looks different. He's let himself go since the divorce."
Yeah. I noticed that too.
Hugh Jackman got a divorce while he was making this movie.
This film. Yeah.
It's like,
yep. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Wow.
Like what? Like either it was a line that he's
let himself go.
He's let himself go. It's like either it was a line that he said that they didn't expect to have a divorce between then and now. I mean, I don't know how they left that. I laughed at that more than anything else, and only because I know that he got a divorce from his wife of like 35 years.
Yeah.
Just recently, like it just.
I didn't even know after the movie. I looked it up.
Yeah. Well, and it's 6.
No idea.
It's been 6 months. He has a private life, so he does a pretty good job. So in 2000, I think it was 2018, 17 or 18. I had the opportunity to take my daughter and my oldest daughter and my wife to Hugh Jackman's live concert. He was touring around the United States, and he even had a moment, like he talks about his career in the concert, and he even had a moment where he dedicated a song that he was singing to his wife that he had been married to at that time, like 29 years or something like that, 28 years. And so it was sad for me to find out that they had gotten a divorce, but I can't believe they allowed that joke to stay in because that's got to be. I mean, maybe he's beyond it. Maybe this divorce has been a long time coming or something like that. I don't know, but it was that was like the most brutal joke. I think like even more than even more like it when he says he's my favorite Chris or something like that, because they referred to all three of the Chris
oh yeah
Chris Hemsworth, Chris
Evans and
Evans
Chris
and
Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Or sorry,
Yeah.
no, yeah, Chris Pratt. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris. So they're
Um,
all Chris's, and they're all white dudes, and they're all
yeah.
huge, and they're all jacked. And so it's just funny. And
Uh,
I the Blade, and then Elektra, they even had like Jennifer Garner played Elektra in two movies, in Daredevil and the Elektra movie, which I think those movies are now 20 years old at least.
yeah.
And she famously was married to Ben Affleck, and they got a terrible divorce. And there's a moment where they say, where Deadpool's like, what about Daredevil? One of them says he's dead, and she goes, it's fine. So that's a dig at Ben Affleck. Oh my gosh, there's so much in this movie. Like
Oh gosh.
okay.
So that's so
I think
funny.
we
Yeah.
probably need to focus it a little bit. So there's a really great fight scene in a minivan that
Where he
Wolverine,
hits his head on the radio and
what,
and
yeah, he hits his
it
head on the
starts
radio.
playing
It starts playing music from
Greatest Showman.
The Greatest
And
Showman.
you're just
My
like,
kids love that show too, that movie. And so we'll watch it every once in a while and dance to it and all that kind of stuff. And it's so funny that they used the music from that, just all this meta stuff, all this. And what's great about this movie, it's almost like this fond farewell to a another time,
mm,
right? And I wanted to read this statement that Ryan Reynolds put out. That Ryan Reynolds put this out on Facebook. This isn't just Deadpool saying, "Oh, hello" to the MCU. It's Deadpool and Hugh, Sean and me. He's referring to the director of this movie, saying farewell to a place and an era that literally made us. We are forever grateful to the fun, weird, uneven, and risky world of 20th Century Fox. It was our origin story, and we wouldn't trade it for anything. And thank you to Kevin Feige and Disney for allowing us to share it. So it's basically him saying goodbye to the Fox era of X-Men movies, which is dead. It's over because because they sold Fox to Disney,
to
and so
Disney.
Disney has kind
And
of
so it's
gobbled this
Disney's
all.
era
It's
of
Disney's era of movies. And the thing about this, the overall problem with Disney movies, which they acknowledge in this movie, the Disney era of MCU movies ever since Endgame has been hit or miss. There have been good,
yeah.
there have been a couple of good movies, but overall they've just been flop after flop, and they're not doing as well as they used to. And it might be because of what happened with Disney is Disney's a huge corporation, and they're kind of gobbling this up, and they're feeding agendas of political views that people are not into. And this is one of the reasons that they've been kind of failing for the last few years. I would say probably since a little bit before COVID. um they have a couple of shining examples like Spider-Man No Way Home. They have like the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie. um and then they have this, and so their television shows haven't done too well. And it's a shame that you had to know a little bit about the television shows to watch this movie, because of the TVA. The TVA gets introduced in a television show. So I almost had no concept of what the
Yeah.
TVA was. And I I don't think it lessened the movie a little bit for me, because I'm like, this movie should be doing its own thing.
Be able to stand on its own. Yeah.
Yeah, on its own without the help of the TV shows. Let's talk a little bit about the Deadpool core. They're basically all the Deadpools have been thrown into the void, and they and Wolverine and Deadpool are trying to avoid them because they don't want to have a big fight with them or anything like that. And it turns out that they end up fighting them anyway, and it's like the showcase fight scene, and it's just a slow tracking shot of them fighting all these Deadpools.
That was a pretty cool shot.
That
Like
was
how they did that was pretty
it's
pretty
pretty
neat.
it's it's pretty amazing. It's so they have Lady Deadpool, which everybody says is played by Blake Lively. They must have had a stunt double who played her body, but the voice is played by Blake Lively. I've heard two things, like it is actually Blake Lively. I don't know who it was, but there's that, and then there's like cowboy Deadpool, and there's like baby Deadpool, and there's just all these different Deadpools, and they just fight them and just start chopping them all up. It's so
Yeah.
it's and nice Deadpool. There's nice Deadpool, which is Ryan Reynolds de-aged, so he looks like he did like when he was in Van Wilder, and he's got long hair and he's got a man bun and he's got a dog, and that's where the dog comes in.
Oh gosh.
There's so much to this movie. It's almost we almost can't get through it in one episode. I mean, there's just a lot. There's so much. And the Wolverine, he gets a redemption too, because X-23 Laura
Yeah.
from Logan, they brought back the same actress. She's older now, obviously. That movie's a few
Oh,
years
shoot.
old.
Yeah.
That movie's like
It's been out for
8 or 9 years old.
yeah.
And so she's a young adult now. But they have scenes with her, and there's a little bit of redemption arc for this Wolverine. That's what holds the heart of the movie, as well as Deadpool trying to get back to what he loved about
Saving
his world, saving his world,
family, so
Yeah.
to say, the people that he loved. And they kind of set that up. They have a birthday party for him at the very beginning,
which is seen in
where
the trailers. Yeah.
where he kind of has a moment where he's just like I love all of you. You guys are my family.
Yeah.
Even though he's broken up with his wife, and
Yeah.
like that's a little, you can see there's a little bit of tension there.
Yeah.
Are you seeing someone? Are you seeing someone? You know,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But and then it goes on to him, and this is the journey of him trying to save that universe with his family.
Yeah. So it's all the characters from now. There's an obvious character missing. It's Weasel, who is played by TJ Miller in the first two movies. And there's a reason for that. According to the internet, a quick internet search, TJ Miller got kind of Me Too'd. So he's in a some kind of legal battle with sexual harassment lawsuit.
Which one was he?
He was the guy with the glasses who owned the bar from the first two movies.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
And he actually played a pretty integral part in the first movie. He made kind of a cameo / couple of scenes in the second movie. Did you notice that it was the cab guy in this one?
The cab guy was there. Yeah,
the cab guy was
in
there
at the birthday party.
I think his name's Depinder or something like that. And so so I did a quick Google search if I like, why isn't TJ Miller in this? So TJ Miller's basically lost his career because of a Me Too issue. I don't know if it's true. I don't really know what happened. You can go look if you want to, but he that's, I guess, the reason they didn't have him in this. So but Colossus is there. The teenager from the X-Men is there, from the Xavier school is there.
It's Sabrina Teenage Witch. No, the
one that he called Sabrina Teenage Witch.
That's what he calls her. Yeah, and her girlfriend.
Yeah, and then
Yoki.
And then there's Peter. And so there's all these characters that he considers his family and the people that he loves. And so that's the reason, that's his motivation. And then Wolverine, this particular Wolverine's motivation is to try to recompense his destroying his own world. And so they leave it open, I guess, at the end uh to show like there could be more adventures with Deadpool and Logan. This movie is going to be such a huge success that I highly
I
doubt
doubt they're going to stop here. Yeah,
they
it's
probably
going to
won't.
be. It might be. They're gonna probably try to ride this gravy train
For a while.
and get a few more episodes or a few more movies out on it until they bleed it dry, and no one goes to it
eventually
anymore.
no one goes to it anymore. It does feel like this one was a labor of love. Ryan Reynolds has said that he always wanted to work with you again after the kind of the debacle of the X-Men's Origins Wolverine that had him as Deadpool, but Deadpool with a mouth that's been sewed shut. It's already raking in money. We're literally like still in the same opening weekend as we record this. Like, I guess we could touch on the plot details that don't really matter. And he acknowledges that, like the universe ripper or whatever it's called, Deadpool basically says something about this almost doesn't matter. He's like, this is the MacGuffin of the story,
Yeah.
It doesn't really, it's just furthering the story along. It doesn't really, it's a machine that tears apart the universes. And then the villain of the piece, which is Cassandra Nova, I think, is she's
Xavier's sister,
I guess. The sister we never knew about. And she's been in the purgatory or the void this whole time.
She was known in the comic books? Because I'm not sure if
yeah,
she's an
but
actual.
They portrayed her as a young woman, where in the comic books, I believe she's an old lady, an old bald lady. So that's the only change from the comic books. I think her power is the same, where she can manipulate people. And
I felt like at the very end, the footage that they did of Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman,
their original
when they first kind of started in these roles, I thought was pretty cool. Like, I really did kind of feel like that was neat to see. And it's so funny, young Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool in X-Men Wolverine Origins.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love this character.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like he wanted this so bad.
It's like manifest destiny. He's wanted it so bad for so long. I mean, if you go back, like the leak of the script of the original Deadpool, which everybody thinks was him, but he's never admitted to it. So it's the leak and then the test footage, and both of those got leaked online to get that movie made, to get that movie originally made, because the studio kept saying no.
Yeah, they didn't want it.
They didn't want it. So the test footage itself was so phenomenal that they were like, we need to. So the whole first fight scene in the first one, I think I've covered this before, was the test footage. So it's pretty much him manifesting this to get this made, and it is the biggest thing he's ever done. He's had big roles. He's had a lot of flops. This is the biggest thing he's ever done, and it's him kind of saying goodbye to the Fox years.
Well, and did you notice when they're in the wasteland,
it's the 20th century
the void,
Fox. Yeah,
you see,
void.
And I'm sure you would notice.
The X of Fox is kind of sticking out. That's kind of an homage to the original X-Men, because the original X-Men, when they had the 20th century Fox, the X would linger after it went dark.
Oh, gotcha.
And it would sit there for a little bit longer, just kind of as a fun thing for the people that are paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of Easter eggs in this. I watched a video, an hour and a half long video about all the Easter eggs. So
Oh, yeah.
there's stuff in this that
So,
only comic book geeks are gonna get. There's stuff in this that movie buffs are gonna get. There's stuff that the layman,
that,
just the regular
I,
moviegoer, is gonna get.
I
Well,
think
and
that's great.
after this movie hits $1 billion, there's a good chance that he may be one of the, because he's a producer on the movie. He's going to rake in the money on this movie. Like, he is going to get so much money from this movie. It's 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 funny. It's just funny to think
Yeah.
about that. His career was kind of languishing before Deadpool, and then
Yeah.
um
Green Lantern and
yeah, Green
uh
Lantern, a few really well. And I before we leave, I want to end kind of with this. So I follow the Film Threat guys, and one of his name is Alan NG, and you guys should follow him. He's a funny guy, and he said in a tweet, "Congrats, Disney, you're about to make another billion. That means you can now screw up 8 movies and still stay in profit." And he's referring to Deadpool and Wolverine,
oh geez.
because the fans love this movie. This
Yeah.
movie is going to be a massive hit. I want
I
to go
kind of
see it again. I want to
I
go see
hope
it.
so. I hope that it will be a massive hit. But at the same time, he's not wrong. It's like, this is going to be a massive hit. And I saw a comment. Somebody wrote a comment that, and I think it's probably true. And that it just said, I predict that Kevin Feige will learn nothing from this film.
From this, yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, you're probably right.
you're probably right.
So we're gonna get this. We're gonna get 5 more films that are DEI woke propaganda.
Yeah,
That's gonna be garbage. And then they'll probably bring them back to do another one.
yeah,
Because it will make money and people love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could be. It's so funny that he even still kind of pokes fun at the woke crowd. Like, he's like, "Oh, Evans is trying to get canceled," like,
Yeah.
because he says something edgy.
Yeah,
He's
something
just like,
edgy. Yeah,
"You're
yeah.
trying to get canceled," yeah. So
I'm gonna try seeing it again before it leaves theaters. Probably later in the week, or go on a weeknight when there's not as many people, so I can laugh to my heart's content. And then not miss the jokes because everybody else is laughing around me. But this movie is great. I have almost nothing bad to say about it. Other than maybe, the girlfriend takes a back seat to the whole thing again. She's not in the movie. She was in the first one a lot, and she's just not in this one. In the second one, she actually dies. I mean, so it's like, I don't know. This movie wasn't trying to tell that story, and I get it. So I kind of like the way this one went more.
this was a love story between men, not
Yes.
a love story for women.
For women.
At
So
the end, when they're supposedly both going to give their lives to stop this from happening,
yeah,
and they're burning up,
yeah.
and Hugh Jackman's shirt
comes
gets
off.
blown off, and it just shows him, look at his abs. You're just,
He's like,
oh,
it's so funny.
so funny.
Oh man, it's a very funny movie. And I mean, what do you think about the more serious moments? Do you think that kind of landed better than in the second one?
Oddly enough, they did kind of land okay with me. And
Yeah.
like I've said, it's really hard to be serious and also break the fourth wall
All the
and
time.
not break kind of in your own mind, like it's kind of hard to be able to play that line where it's like, hey, this is all fake, and oh, but take me seriously.
Yeah.
But it seemed to work. It's hard to put your finger on, but it just seemed to work well.
It's a testament to Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy, who directed so Sean Levy and him have worked a couple of times together, and they worked together on Free Guy, and I think they worked it on together on the Adam Project. Yeah, it's a testament to Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds to know kind of where to draw the line. Maybe that's why the second one didn't ring as true to me. Maybe that's why it rang a little hollow. I don't really know. Like, it's hard to explain why this one worked more. But so the Adam Project, which is a Ryan Reynolds movie and Sean Levy movie that came out on Netflix, I almost remember nothing about. It was funny in parts, but it had no impact on anything. Like, I don't remember much about it. It wasn't that great of a movie. Maybe they learned from that and did better in this one. It's hard to tell. Like, they really towed the line between serious, funny, and action. And there are great action sequences in this. Like, they must have gotten some of the best action choreographers in Hollywood to do these scenes, because they are really, really good action scenes. I mean, there's three that are really stand out. The one in the void, the one in the minivan, and then the one on the street with all the Deadpools. Those are excellent action sequences. Do you feel like the nostalgia? There's a lot of nostalgia porn in this. Do you feel like that can wear out its welcome eventually?
So if they tried to, you could be right. They might not be able to replicate this. Like, they may not be able to do this again.
Yeah.
Because I think you might be right. The nostalgia part of this,
it's overwhelming. There's so much in it.
Could wear out its welcome.
Yeah.
So if they did do it, they probably need a good time frame in between, or come at it a little bit differently. I'm not exactly sure how you would do it, so that it doesn't wear out its welcome. But I mean, I don't know. They could probably do it again, right? Ryan Reynolds is a pretty smart guy. It seems like he'd probably be able to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where to land with the nostalgia stuff. Like, we are inundated with nostalgia porn in our society right now. It's all callbacks to other things.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I mean, just this past year alone, there was a Ghostbusters movie that came out and nobody went to it. I mean, so I don't know. There's ways to do it like this movie that make it good, and then there's ways to do it that are terrible. And there's I guess there's a fine line between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. And they may have set this up for something in the future, because they when he goes to the TVA, they've got a bunch of screens and he sees himself being held by Thor.
Yeah.
And so it does make you wonder.
Maybe he'll have an adventure with Thor.
He might have something that goes down with Thor. So maybe. The multiverse, it's a weird thing, but I mean, they kind of, with the multiverse now, they've kind of opened it up to like do anything, but also I do feel like stakes, it's hard to make stakes high with the multiverse.
Because nobody stays dead.
Yeah, no one stays
Everybody's-
dead. It always, you know, it's just, you know what? They made it work in this one. And could they do it again? Yeah, I think they probably could do it again. So I'd be there for it if they do, but I also don't want them to just
Wear it
inundate
out.
us with more.
I feel like
garbage.
they could wear it out. The success of this movie is going to be so big that they're not. I don't think they're going to learn anything. They're going to go,
Yeah.
okay, let's double down on this.
Double down. Let's do it again and
Let's do it
again,
again,
and
and
again,
again,
and
and
again
again.
until we're all
Saturated.
tired of it.
Yeah, until we're all tired of it. All right. On that note, audience, check us out on social media, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for the Sword in the Skull. If you are listening to this and not watching it, please go to YouTube and give us a like, share, and subscribe. And in the meantime, keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See ya.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching
They
powder?
know all the slang terms. They have a list.
Even snowboarding?
Even disco dust.
White girl interrupter?
Even Forrest Bump.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Yes!